Hello, friends. I'm Anderson Marchak,
And I'm Ricardo Segura.
and we are the Panel Bros. Welcome to the panel.
Welcome to the panel.
Okay, so we are here again, and as of this recording, it's March 2023, and we are all caught up with the live action filmography of the boss, Zack Snyder.
The blueprint, if you will.
Oh, yes. It's the first original he's done since Sucker Punch, and it is Army of the Dead.
Back in the zombie genre, man.
Yeah.
And you know me, I love me some zombies. So I was like, we saw this together. We went to the movies and saw it.
We did.
We saw it. We went to the movies. Like, we're going to go support it. It had a little run. It was on Netflix. I think. What was it? Like a week run or
It was
something?
a 7 day run until it
Okay.
hit Netflix. So
Okay.
2021 was a busy year for Zach. He got to release Zack Snyder's Justice League on March 18th of 2021, and about 2 months later, on May 14th, Army of the Dead opens in theaters, which is it's happening more and more for Netflix movies, but at the time it didn't really happen too much. So he got a theatrical release, and 7 days later, it released on Netflix for streaming, obviously. So
I like that format, to be honest, because we both love going to the theater. So
right.
even if it's going to streaming, if we can get a nice window to go see it in the theater, I'm excited to do that. And I think you had on a Zack Snyder shirt, and I think the guy who was giving us the tickets was like, "Yeah," I think he gave
Yeah.
us one of those. Yeah, I think he was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, absolutely. So so whether together or separate, with the exception of Sucker Punch, we've seen every Zack Snyder movie in the movie theater that we
Yep.
could anyway. That
Yeah,
we
yeah.
were able to. Unfortunately, Zack Snyder's Justice League, it was only in the major cities and all that good stuff. So, well, here we are at Army of the Dead. Let's get into it.
Let's go.
So we opened with another typical Zack Snyder opening, but well, not just yet. We had the military convoy going to Area 51, and it's got some cargo, a zombie, the undead.
Oh, it does. It's got our boy Zeus in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a newlywed couple who unfortunately has a car accident due to being
Yep.
distracted, let's say.
Let's
And
just say romantically
right,
involved.
they were distracted, and the car, hits the convoy, and unfortunately, this leads to the zombie escaping from one of the vehicles, and the zombie infects and kills and then infects the soldiers, and we get our first major violent kill, so to speak. Got the whole jaw. The jaw situation was ripped clean off of the one soldier.
Yep, and we got our boy Jimmy Olsen back from Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition.
Yes.
Zach was like, "Hey, you want to come back and die in the beginning again?" And he's like, "Okay, I'll be there."
Yeah. That was great. So that was kind of setting up our opening here. Um, the zombie sets its sights on Las Vegas in the background, and now we get our signature Zack Snyder opening with the slow motion, telling a story, so to speak. And Viva Las Vegas is playing.
Bro, it's so good. The song choice of Viva Las Vegas and just seeing so much chaos
Yeah,
and pandemonium. And it's funny because like the credits are like a bright pink. You know what I
right.
mean? Like it's a bright pink font, and you got blood and guts going everywhere, and violent fights and explosions. Again, Zach with his signature intro, killing it as always.
Yeah, it was great. We see the team members killing zombies, killing the infected. We see them. Uh, it's basically showing them at their craft,
Yeah,
and he had like this. Um, he had them doing these shots, holding pictures of their families, which was kind of like a symbolic type deal. It wasn't happening in real time, just to
hmm
introduce us to everybody.
yeah.
And we saw some of the team members get killed, unfortunately, sometimes really violently. Um, I think one person was with a child, and a container fell on them and a whole bunch of zombies around them.
Bro, Soccer Mom. It's
Yeah,
Soccer
man.
Mom. Like she went by Soccer Mom in the movie, and I remember I was like, "Is that gonna make me cry in the first 10 minutes of this
Right,
movie?" And like it's so heart-wrenching because like they give her like a mini story. Like in the very beginning, just during that intro with the
right,
music playing and whatnot, it's just about her finding her daughter. Like you see her find ripped up clothes, and she's like, "Okay, no." She finds a hoodie, she's like, "Okay, no." And she finally finds her daughter, and it's like, oh, this is so great. And then they don't make it out, and the saddest part is that the daughter runs back in. Like the
right,
daughter gets away, the mom is like, go, and she's getting attacked by zombies, and the daughter runs back into her arms, and she holds her, and you see a tear hit, and then the container it's
right.
ruined me.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was Tig Notaro in the opening sequence?
I don't believe Tig is in the opening at all.
So,
We don't get an intro to Tig's character
right,
until they go recruiting people.
right. There was a zombie Elvis that had a striking resemblance to Tig, though,
Yes, yes, and there
which
was at
is
one point I was like, "Is that Tig like playing a dual role?"
right,
But it's never been confirmed. I have no
right,
idea, but it
right. I
it
mean,
does look it does.
knowing Zach, if it was, he got her to do that and then offered her the part after things opened up, you know? So
Yeah.
let's uh let's continue forward here. So from there on, we see the original zombie, who I believe is Zeus. They
Zeus.
uh,
Zeus.
is there, and he's infecting the masses in Vegas. The military tries to intervene, doesn't work, so the government has to end up quarantining the city. And it's pretty brutal. You see people attacking each other. You see like people are just having a good time in the casino, and then all of a sudden there's this big zombie outbreak. It's a big spectacle.
It's a very big spectacle, and it's so scary because, like, Zeus, right away, you can tell he's not like any zombie we've seen
Right,
before, right away, and he's just it's like his intention is made very clear. He's walking through Vegas, and he's not consuming or eating people, he's
right,
biting and moving on, he's biting and moving on. I was like, "Oh,
right.
dude, this is a scary guy."
Yeah. So we've already entered into the running zombies because that's been introduced for decades now at this point.
Yeah,
But now this one has super strength, but now it looks like he's a little intelligent too. So which
very
is a
intelligent.
scary combination.
Yep.
We fast forward 6 years later, and the casino owner Bly Tanaka and his associate Martin, um, they approach Scott Ward,
Yep.
about a job to recover 200 million from the casino, and our lead, played by Dave Bautista.
That's my boy,
Yeah,
Mr. Dave Bautista. I love him.
and the caveat is they need to get this money out because the military plans on having a nuclear strike hit the city to
Yep.
take out the zombies and take out the infected because they already quarantined everybody. So
Yeah. I appreciated that this movie was like, no, there was a zombie outbreak and they immediately quarantined it off.
right,
So I remember when the trailers for this came out, everyone was like, well, what would be the point of stealing money if there's a zombie apocalypse? And Zach was like, no, it's legitimately just Vegas.
just
Like
right,
we've closed it off. Money is still valuable. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. That works.
yeah, absolutely. So after some convincing, Ward agrees, and he recruits teammates. We have Maria Cruz, we have Vanderohe,
Yes.
we have helicopter pilot Marianne Peters, played by Tig Notaro, and we'll get to her in a second. We have German safecracker Ludwig Dieter.
I love him
Oh,
so much in this movie.
yeah, Matthias, right?
So much. He's so funny.
Yeah,
He was literally one of my favorite characters.
yeah, scene stealer. Uh, we have Guzman, sharpshooter Mikey, and his friend Chambers.
Mm-hmm.
Samantha Wynn. Shout out to
Samantha
Samantha Wynn.
Win
Yeah,
for the win.
yeah,
Anytime
definitely.
he's I love again, I love the fact that Zack Snyder uses people
Right.
more than once and she's always made an appearance. I absolutely adore her.
Yeah, absolutely. So Martin joins the team so he can grant them access to the casino. Also, he acts as Tanaka's inside man, obviously. Scott's daughter, Kate, she works at the local quarantine camp, and she introduces them to Lily. I believe the coyote, that's her nickname.
Oh, my dad loved her.
Yeah.
My dad was like, my dad was like, oh man, I like her. I was like, yeah, she's great.
Yeah, pretty good role. And kind of, hey, listen, if you're going to get around, you're going to need Lily. She's going to be able to help you out. So, and also, for whatever reason, Bert Cummings is a part of the team as well.
Bert Cummings, Mr.
Theo Rossi.
Theo Rossi, man. Look,
Yeah.
I'm happy to see him in anything.
Yeah.
Anytime we see him, I'm happy.
Yeah. It's established really early on that he's not a good person.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. So.
And if you know Zack Snyder, anytime he introduces you to someone who is not a good person, you know that they're gonna get their due. Like it. And right away, I was like, oh, this guy's in trouble.
Yeah, and he's really bad. He's verbally and physically abusive, and there's also some assault going on as well, so it's not good. And so Kate learns that Lily escorted her friend Gita into Las Vegas. Kate, she wants to join the team too, and Scott's not having it. And so they're entering into Las Vegas, and we get to meet the zombie tiger. And Lily, she has a plan. She shoots Cummings in the leg.
It's so good. It's so good because she manipulates him.
Yeah.
Like, he obviously is like, I'm not giving you my gun, and her knowing what type of POS he is, she starts being flirtatious.
Correct.
And she's like, oh, I just want to hold. And he's like, oh, really? And he thinks he's got it in the bag. And she's like, no, shot in the leg. And I was like, oh, we're off to a good start.
Right. So now it's revealed that there's intelligent zombies. They're alphas, and they will allow safe passage for a sacrifice. So she invited Cummings on purpose, knowing she was going to sacrifice him because he's the one that deserves to go.
It was funny because when they were getting the team together, she goes, we need one more. And they're like, we don't need one more. She goes, no, we need one more.
Yeah.
And it was always the plan that they were going to leave him. And I love this scene too, because again, Zack continues to expand on certain things in this movie, zombie lore, and he made these zombies very intelligent, the alphas that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And this scene kind of was like, oh wow, wait, you can make a sacrifice for safe passage with zombies. And she even says it. She goes, you look at this like their prison. It's not. This is their kingdom. And I thought that was really, really cool.
So we then get to meet the alpha female known as the Queen.
Awesome.
And oh, she was great, man.
I
The
loved
stuff
her.
that person did in this movie without saying a single word in English. All she did was grunt and be a zombie the whole movie. She was great.
You can tell like when an actor has a lot of fun, and I could just see how much fun she was having with her body language and just being able to be weird and twisted and just have a lot of fun facial expressions. She was fun to watch.
Either I read it somewhere or I'm just assuming there might have been like a dance background going on there.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Like a dance background, maybe even some yoga, something like that. So in any case, Cummings gets infected by the alpha leader Zeus, and we move forward here. Lily leads the team to a building of hibernating normal zombies. They're not alphas, and they're hibernating. They're sleeping, standing up. It's a high tension scene. Ward creates a path using glow sticks, and Chambers, who hasn't been very trustworthy of Martin from the very beginning, because he's Tanaka's inside guy. She accuses him of ulterior motives, and he's like, she's going to be bothersome to me this entire time. He comes up with a plan to get rid of her, and he kind of gets away from her, and he throws glow sticks in a way to kind of start waking up the zombies one by one. Chambers actually gets some of the zombies. You know, she gets
R-
out of the situation.
She goes full John Wick in this
Yeah,
scene. Like they're each individually starting to wake up one at a time, and she's just putting a blade in their skull.
right. Just
And
being
she
quiet, right?
and then she slowly puts them down, blade in the skull, blade in the skull. This scene is super exciting, and Samantha Wynn killed it.
Yeah, it's a really high tension scene, and by the way, I love the shout out to Vasquez with the red bandana.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
yes, yes. I
yeah,
thought about that again while watching it.
yeah. It's so obvious it's an homage to Vasquez from Aliens. So I thought that was really cool. Um, but it sucks though because so she gets out of there, you know, with all the hibernating zombies. But unfortunately, one of the zombies, the way they fell, their arm was kind of like hits a pan, you
Mhm.
know, because they're like in a kitchen area, and the
Yeah.
pan falls, and all this stuff falls, and it wakes up all the zombies around her. So now she has to go full on guns blazing, shooting. Is that the other? The unfortunate part is Chambers is by herself,
Yeah.
and you're rooting for her even up until the very end. You're rooting for her,
Yeah.
and eventually, you know, they're like, "Where's Chambers? Where's Chambers?" People are suspecting Martin. Um, all of a sudden she bursts through a window, and then they start crowding her, and there's still a chance they're like, no, she'll make it out, you know,
Yeah.
she's such an awesome, character that we've already gotten to know. And unfortunately they swarm her, and once she's bit, she knows it's over with. Her friend Guzman, she's like yelling at him to go. This is her friend, and he's like, I can't
Yeah.
leave you. And she's like, no, it's done. And instead of running, instead of leaving her to die an awful death of being eaten alive by the zombies, he shoots the fuel canister on her back because it's like a flamethrower to kind of trigger an explosion and then take a few zombies with her. You know,
Yeah.
he did her a service as opposed to letting her get eaten alive and then
Yeah.
turning, obviously. You know,
Yeah.
it's an ongoing theme. Like they don't really say it, but with a lot of these zombie projects, the worse than dying is actually turning because nobody wants to
Yeah.
turn and become one of them. So we get to Tanaka's casino, and Scott and Kate go to turn on the power. They have an incredible exchange that we will get to when we talk about the lines. And
So good.
Ricardo and I will do our little exchange here.
It's one of those scenes that it made me feel like this is why Batista signed on to the script.
Yeah,
It's that kind of a scene where he got to be layered and show a softer side, emotional, some real acting, and I appreciated that. So it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and there's not a single gunshot or zombie. It's just two people talking,
right.
and I totally bought it.
Yeah, we get some backstory. We find out that um, the mom got infected, and he had to shoot her, and then they end up having this strange relationship, and
Bro, it's even worse. He
yeah,
doesn't even shoot her. He puts a blade through her head.
yes,
Like
yeah.
it's so
And
horrible.
Kate sees it at the very last second,
Yeah,
So
it's such an awful
so,
image.
he's thinking it's because of that, and she's like, "No, you did what you had to do. It's the fact that you never checked up on me," you know?
Yeah.
So, um, while they're turning on the power, Peters prepares the helicopter on the roof. Dieter works on the vault, um, along with Vanderhoe, one of the great characters in this movie.
They're a great
Vanderhoe,
duo. Those 2 are a
right?
great duo in this
And
movie.
it was cool because he didn't really like Dieter at first. He's like, "Who's this kid? He doesn't look like
Nope.
he can't survive these zombies. They'll eat him alive," you know?
Yep.
And it's like, "No, we need him. He's the best
He was
safecracker in the world."
he was so annoyed with him. It almost felt to me like a big brother with a little brother. How a
Right.
little brother tags along. And he's like, I gotta watch this guy. I gotta take care of this guy. But they build a real cool camaraderie throughout the movie. And up to this point, there's a lot of humor shared between them and whatnot. So I was totally into that pairing.
Yeah. So at this point, Vanderhoe introduces a theory about the movie itself, and it was almost like Zach wanted to put a little exposition here. It's like, hey, listen, if you didn't catch this, we're gonna actually have the character tell you what's going on here, and for some people it might have just been like a throwaway line, but we know Zach, we know him better than
Yeah.
that. So,
Yes.
Ricardo, if you could please read that monologue from Vanderhoe, so we can let
All
the
right.
viewers and listeners know.
All right. Is that in an email or is that still in my text?
It should be in an email. Might be the most
Okay.
recent one.
Let me check
Yeah, absolutely.
because I love that one.
Yeah,
Yep, there it is. All right. So this is the scene where obviously they're right at the vault
right,
and they see a couple bodies on the ground decomposed that look very, very familiar.
right.
And he goes, is it another team or is it us, Dieter? Think about it. Us. I mean, look at them. It's us. It could be us in another timeline. And we're caught in some infinite loop of fighting and dying, fighting and dying, fighting and dying. And Tanaka, the puppet master, devil, God, and we, you, me, Goose, and the rest of the team simply pawns in some perverse play where we're destined to repeat our failures. And finally, in some mind bending, ironic reveal, it all begins again.
Yeah. Um. So at this point in time, we're going full sci-fi.
Yup.
It's not just a
Yup.
it's not just a zombie movie. I think there was like an introduction to aliens in the beginning too.
In the very
Yeah.
beginning of the movie, there are two UFOs in the sky in a still position.
Right.
And then a couple seconds go by and they fly off really fast.
Right. And we don't ever hear about it ever again.
Never brought
Right.
up again at all.
Right. So then we have zombies, and then now Vanderhoe's like, oh, I'm just gonna randomly introduce some time travel
A
business here.
time loop.
Yeah.
Like and also like there were other bodies found before these ones. So as they're going through the casino, they look on a table and they see a couple bodies and they see a map. They see more blueprints, and they're starting to wonder. Like Scott is like, was there another team sent in before us? And
Right.
Martin is like, no, I have no
No.
idea what you're talking about. So at the moment, we're kind of like, oh, maybe there was another team and it didn't work out. But now we have Vanderhoe telling us something completely unique. And again, Zach doesn't just put this in there to be in there. And he's like, what if this is a time loop and we're destined to keep doing this and relive our failures and failures and failures until some ironic reveal that this is a time loop all along. And they made it a point. If you look at the bodies on the ground, they're wearing ideally the same clothing. You see Scott Ward's clothing, the red
Right.
bandana. You see his partner's necklace with the keychain. You see the key. And then you also see Tig's Hawaiian shirt.
Right.
And you're kind of like, as a viewer, you're like, I mean, I guess other people could have worn similar clothing, right? But it's so on the nose.
Right.
And then you have Vanderohe talking about time loops that you're like, oh, we're getting super sci-fi.
Right. So we shift to Martin and Lily. They're outside, quote unquote, keeping watch. But they lure the queen out into the open, and Martin beheads the queen and takes the queen's head. And she's like, "What are you doing? Why didn't you kill her?" And it's just like, well, a head still moving pays a lot of money. Plus, we could possibly weaponize this as well.
Yup. Yep.
And
And to be fair, Lily didn't even know what he was gonna do.
right,
Like she was under the impression that he was gonna take a DNA sample.
right,
And he ends up beheading the bride, the queen.
queen,
And
yeah,
as soon as he did that, I was just like, oh
right. And this is
no.
not good because she's kind of co-ruling this zombie town with Zeus. And why would you want to upset Zeus by doing something like this? So
Bro, I'm just saying I side with Zeus a little bit. We'll talk about it, but I'm
yeah.
like, I'm kind of rolling with Zeus here.
So we shift back to Dieter and Vanderhoe, and I believe Guzman as well. They're still moving forward with the booby traps at the safe. We see a pretty cool moment here where they push one of the zombies to keep walking forward towards the safe, and then
So funny.
like you see like
It's
just the
so
walls
funny.
come in, and we've seen booby traps like that happen, but we rarely get to see somebody get hit by them. So
Yeah, and then it like it's so disgusting because it opens and you
yeah,
just see
quick
all the
them.
guts and
Yeah,
everything, and I
yeah,
was like, it's such a funny scene. Like it was Zach was clearly again having fun. Like the zombie walks forward, he
right,
hears a noise, and the zombie turns around as if he's looking for acknowledgement. Like, are we good? And then just clunk. That's great.
yeah. So Zeus discovers the body of the queen, headless. He's not fearing, but he's thinking that they killed the queen. So he's back at the casino. And you find out why he's so upset. He reaches into the queen's body and pulls out a zombie baby fetus, and
Yes.
perhaps a little throwback to Dawn of the Dead, where they had the zombie baby, possibly. Yes.
This is it. We're talking about zombies able to repopulate.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And there's a very specific color that's showcased. You see this blue, right? You see this blue. You see this blue like pulsating through the fetus, and it's just a very bright blue. And you're like, oh no, she was with child. So Zeus has now lost his wife, his bride, and he has now lost essentially the mother of his child and his child. So I'm like, guys, like Zach constantly finds a way to kind of take an enemy or a villain of the story and give them a reason why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
And you're kind of just like, well, this is going to go bad very quickly, but I understand why Zeus is going to react the way that he did. And this scene is also really cool. Now, I remember sitting next to you in the theater and asking you if you caught this. There are at least 2 to 3 zombies in this scene when the camera pans out and they have bright, shining blue eyes.
Right.
And I remember going, did you see that? And you were like, what? I was like, there was like these really bright, shining eyes. It was really weird and distracting. You like, oh, I don't think I caught it. And I was like, huh, what the heck was that? You know what I mean? Like already I was like, Zach, what are you doing? And as the movie goes on, we'll see more.
Yeah, absolutely. We get a news report that the nuclear strike has moved up, and the team only has 90 minutes now at this point.
Oh, of
And
course.
thankfully, though, Dieter gets successfully opens the vault, and Scott finds out that Kate broke away from the team so she could find Gita. As Scott and Cruz, they're about to go searching for her. They have this little tender moment, like, "You idiot! I didn't come back for the money. I came back to give us a chance. You know,
Yeah.
your wife died, but we met each other after that, and and he's just like, well, maybe I can. I just thought it was too late for me to fix anything. My daughter, you, everything.
Yeah.
So really soft moment. And right after this very soft moment, the alphas appear in the elevator, and Cruz dies. And
Immediately horribly mangled.
yeah, it's one of the alphas grabbed her head and did a complete 180, and she locks eyes with Scott as she's dying, and
It's
pretty
horrible.
awful.
You see her spine also protrude through the skin.
Right, really
It's
graphic.
disgusting. And I remember in the theater, again, that was another moment where we both kind of reacted like, wow, Zach gave us that really tender moment and just took it
Ripped it
away.
right away from us,
Just
right?
yep,
It was on
yep. And we're like,
purpose.
it's yeah, it was like, is he gonna do that? And it was like, yeah, and it was like, oh my God. And like you said, what was really haunting about it is that they lock eyes
Right,
and you see Scott just go into another place completely.
right. So Martin ends up trapping everybody in the basement, saying that Tanaka only really wanted the zombie head. He couldn't care about anything else. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter with the money or anything, because he wants to create a zombie army for the government, because that's worth more than the money in the vault. Um, he gets outside. He finds out Lily stole the queen's head, and then eventually Martin gets his comeuppance because the zombie tiger mauls him. And
Bro,
yeah, it's like a little Revenant action here. Like,
bro,
but he died.
this was arguably the most violent scene in the movie. Again, if you are a bad guy in a Zack
Right.
Snyder film, you're gonna get it. And this tiger mauled him. Like this tiger played, like he hit him against pillars. He was throwing him around. He was slashing at his neck and at his face. And that tiger took his time or her time. I don't remember. I don't remember. But that tiger just completely just destroys Martin's head, just crumples it until there's nothing left. It looks like a watermelon when it's done. It's been broken to
Yeah.
pieces. And I was like, dude, he got it bad, but he
Really,
deserved it.
really graphic. Right. He was ready to sacrifice
Yep.
everybody. So
Yep.
um, we shift back to the safe, and Vanderhoe is going to attempt to fight Zeus one-on-one in a fist fight.
Bro, again, this goes back to a theory that I've had, and I think Zach has even mentioned that there's a history between those two.
Right.
That there is a history because again, and Zeus gives him the respect. Zeus takes off. For those who don't know, Zeus is wearing a helmet so there's no headshots.
Right.
Excuse me. So Zeus wears a helmet to prevent him from getting a headshot. Again, Zeus is very smart, and he's got like a cloak or a cape because he's like the general.
Yeah.
And when he sees Vanderohe and Vanderohe takes off his bag, Zeus also is like, okay. He takes off the helmet, and they're about to go fisticuffs.
Right.
And I'm like, this is amazing.
So they go back and forth, and Dieter's realizing that things aren't going to go well. The safe can't close from the inside; it has to be closed from the outside. He pushes Vanderhoe into the safe, and supposedly sacrifices himself. And in a way, kind of not if he hadn't redeemed himself by now, he definitely did in this moment. And he shot a few zombies before. Before this moment happened, but this time it was just like such a brave moment for him. Because him and Vanderhoe had bonded. So we shift to Scott, Lily, and Guzman. They're trying to make their way out, and all these zombies are coming, swarming them. And unfortunately, Guzman, he gets overpowered, and he ends up sacrificing himself to kind of help everybody escape. Pulls his grenade, and then that triggers all the other grenades on top of him. Blows up a few zombies, takes them out with him.
And in this one scene, this was another moment where I was like, did you see that? Like, he shoots a zombie right in the face, and you see blue lights, and then you see a metal skeleton underneath. And I was like, bro, what is happening in this movie?
So cyborg zombies, or was that person a cyborg before they got turned to a zombie? Either or.
I have theories. We'll continue.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we see Zeus confronting everybody on the roof. Lily distracts him. She pulls out the queen's head. And so Zeus is interested now because Zeus knows that means that the queen is still conscious, basically. Queen may not have a body, but at least I can still carry around the queen's head. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
and he would. I could totally see him carrying her around always, like on his horse that he rides.
Absolutely. And while she's distracting him, Scott and Peter's escape, and Zeus ends up impaling Lily.
Yeah.
And she had ended up threw the head off the side of the building, and he impaled her. Peters ends up going to the other casino to retrieve Kate, who went looking for Gita. And inside, Kate does find Gita, and she ends up killing. She sees Cummings infected. He's already turned, and he gets his comeuppance twice. He already got killed and turned, and now he gets shot by one of the people he was abusing. And they go to fly off. It's going to be Kate, Gita, and Scott. They're the only people left. And then Peter's flying the helicopter. Zeus chases them onto the helicopter, jumps off of the building, because now he's enraged that the queen's gone, and he's like, I'm not letting these people get away. During the fight, he accidentally shoots Peters, and the helicopter's just going sideways at this point. Zeus ends up overpowering Scott and bites him, but he gets the at least he gets to take Zeus out anyway. It's a really cool shot with the gun. It kind of exploded Zeus's cranium when
it explodes it, and again, you just see a lot of blue. That blue color is there's something, I don't know what it is,
right?
But it's blue for a reason.
There's a theme going on there, and oh yeah, Zeus was distracted by the blast of the nuke. That's what it was.
Yep.
The nuke was going on. They were nuking Las Vegas. So
Zeus,
the
because like it's not only that it's a nuke, but Zeus is also like, yo, they just took out my whole kingdom. Like everything is
right,
gone.
right.
Everything that he
All
has
your
worked for,
followers,
yup,
everything.
populating his ranks, everything is gone, and he gets distracted for a moment.
So helicopter crashes, killing both Peters and Gita, unfortunately. Kate survives. She finds Scott, and he gives her and some of the money that he was able to recover, so she could start a new life. And he asks her to to kill him because he's going to start turning pretty soon. So
Yeah.
she waits.
It's a oh man, it's such a sad moment because she tries to do the apologetic thing, right? She tries to say like I'm sorry, and he tells her, he goes, "Don't. I just want to look at you."
Right.
And like it hurts so bad because that's her father and that's his daughter. And he doesn't want his final moments as a human being to be caught up with I'm sorries and regret. And he's like, no, I just want to look at you.
Yeah,
And
it's great.
boy, that messed me up.
Yeah. So she ends up having to shoot him after he turns, and then a rescue helicopter arrives. We shift over to Vanderohe escaping from the safe. Apparently,
Yup.
it was protective enough to protect him from that blast. And he's got some money, whatever he could bring with him. Zombie by the Cranberries is playing in the background.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Very on the nose there. And he rents a plane to take him to Mexico City. Um, and unfortunately, on the flight, he learns that he's been bitten as well. And we cut to the credits. That's how we get there. So this movie was Zach's return to originals. It ended up spawning a new universe. We have Army of Thieves, a prequel,
Mm-hmm.
directed by Matthias, the actor that plays Dieter. And there's an anime series, Lost Vegas, that they have planned. And then there's a sequel, Planet of the Dead, which is also in development. So the only thing we've seen so far is Army of the Dead and Army of Thieves.
Yep.
Unfortunately, nothing else has come out since. So, what are your initial thoughts, about, this movie, since seeing it and then obviously rewatching it?
It's I am so entertained by this movie because again, I really loved Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. And it was traditionally it was a zombie movie, obviously, but running zombies, and that was kind of like your main core difference. Where in this one, it almost felt like he was building a franchise, like he was setting things up to be explained later. And I really appreciated that because it was more than a zombie movie. And I know that, when Batista had first before he read the script, Bautista was willing to pass on it because he thought it was just going to be another action zombie movie and he wasn't interested. And it wasn't until he read the script that he was like, oh no, there's some juice here. There's something I want to be a part of. And I thought that was really cool. And I felt that as a fan, we could see that. So like, I mean, you have zombies, you have intelligent zombies, you have alphas, you've got a distinction between soldiers, runners, shamblers, and alphas, as I mentioned. And then you have Zeus, who's kind of like the one that's creating his ranks and whatnot. They're doing their own thing. You've got an idea of teasing a time loop, which is like heavy sci-fi.
Oh, yeah.
You've got alien talk, and you're like, wait a minute, we got aliens. And then my mind is like, okay, so did the zombies come from an alien of some sort? Is it viral from alien life? Like, what is it? So there was a lot of questions, and I love that because then usually when I walk away from a zombie movie, I walk away going, I saw a fun zombie movie. End of story.
Right.
But I walked away from this going, I saw a fun zombie movie, and now I have a lot of questions. What does
Right.
this mean? Though there were robot zombies in there. So I'm like, hey, are those zombies sent in by the government to watch and observe the other zombies? We already see that Martin had mentioned that they want the head because they want to weaponize it. They want to be able to use this as a weapon. And I was like, that's insane. So I'm like, are those robots monitoring everything? What's the deal with that? How is he procreating? What's the deal with that? Like, it's just it was more than a zombie movie, and I appreciated that. And again, it
Right.
seemed like he was laying down foundations to continue and go, hey, we're gonna have a lot of fun with this quote unquote universe, this new IP that he was working on. And I want to see more.
Yeah, absolutely. Zombies I can take them or leave them, but
Mhm.
once you start throwing all the science fiction at me, now you got me. You got me with the UFO, you got me with the blue blood that, we don't know what's going on there. Um, they hint at it with the shining eyes, but then you
Mhm.
see a zombie get killed and it looks like there's a cybernetic body underneath,
Yep.
a cybernetic skeleton, so to speak, underneath the zombie. Um, Even when Zeus had the fetus was glowing, and
Yeah.
then in a way, I'm assuming life, quote unquote, life left the fetus when it stopped glowing.
Yeah.
So, and then we saw Zeus had the blue blood as well. So there was maybe only the alphas have blue blood. I don't know.
Yeah. I have questions, and I love
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think? Were they cyborgs before they turned, or
Yeah.
yeah,
I legit my theory is that once the breakout happened and they quarantined, obviously the government said, okay, you know, how do we weaponize this? How can we use this to our advantage? Like, what can we do with this? And the only way they could infiltrate was to send something in. So I don't know. I mean, obviously it's a movie. I don't know how they have the technology, but it's like I feel like they created cybernetic organisms to infiltrate and just be around and monitor. But maybe that's not even from the humans. Maybe those are cybernetic organisms from the aliens. You know what I mean? Where
right,
they've created this viral outbreak and now they're leaving cybernetic organisms to see how it works. And I'm like,
right,
I don't know. All I know is that I think those cybernetic organisms were purposely put there for a reason and to monitor because they blend in so well. And the only way is their eyes glow extremely
right,
bright blue. And then when they get shot, like I think there's 2 or 3 scenes where you see them get shot. There's one in a hallway as well where one gets shot and falls against the wall and you see sparks and everything. And I'm like, okay, what, like, you know what I mean?
right.
So again, it's one of those aspects that he added to the movie where I have questions and I want to know and I want to dig and I want to have fun making theories online and talking to friends and everything else. And it made it much more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and there's so much more because, technically speaking, Army of Thieves, that's just introduced us to Dieter,
Yeah.
and to find out now how good of a safecracker he is. It's a heist film.
Hmm.
We find out about the outbreak kind of as the movie's ending, but there's nothing about the zombies in there, so to speak. It's just introduced Dieter and
No,
his awesome team.
I think there's only one scene in that movie where there's zombies, but it's a dream sequence. He has a dream, and he has
Right.
a dream that he's being attacked by
Thank
zombies,
you for that.
and
Yeah.
he mentioned it. And again, they don't put this in the movie for no reason. One of the other characters goes, maybe it wasn't a dream, maybe it was a vision.
Vision. Yeah.
And I was like, "Ooh, we're
That's
playing.
good.
I like it. I like it."
So, in the upcoming sequels, we hopefully will get more answers. And also Vanderhoe if he got bit that long ago, why didn't he turn yet? You know?
Bro, I this is where my mind gets a little out there, and I have no problem with people yanking me back.
Right.
Okay, so during the fight that he has with Zeus, they made it a very, very specific point to show Zeus holding Vanderohe's arm, and he's trying to bite it, and Dieter stops him.
Right.
So the bite never happens, but you can clearly see that's where he's going. Like he's got his arm, he's going for the tricep, and then Dieter stops it. So I'm like, when did he get bit? And this is where I get crazy because I
It's
told
a
you,
good theory.
I get
Yeah.
crazy that Vanderohe, the one we see, is not the one that we've been following this whole movie. This is almost because everything's a loop event. I'm like, this is a different Vanderohe. This is a Vanderohe
Right.
who got bit, but this is not the one that we knew because it's not to say he wouldn't survive that. It's a movie. He survived it. But I just kept wondering. We never saw a bite. We never saw him have any type of close interaction with many zombies at once outside of the ones in the hallway that he was controlling. But that fight with Zeus, again, when you're obviously, and you notice when you're making a movie and you show certain things, it's done on purpose. and I can't get over. And I watched it again today, and I couldn't get over the fact that I'm like, man, they're really focusing. They got it really tight, and they're showing that he's trying to bite his tricep, and he just can't get it. And then Dieter knocks him out,
Right.
and I'm like, okay, but I'm like, is the Vanderohe we're seeing from a previous timeline that is almost going to jumpstart the events of the movie we just saw? Like, dude, I can't get into it because my brain will start hurting.
It's okay.
But I'm just like, wait a minute, we would have seen him get bit. They would have made a point, even if it was like Dawn of the Dead. We never saw the bite, but you see a moment where he looks down and he kind of goes, ugh, and you know right there, like
Right.
know. We have nothing like that in this movie. Vanderohe is completely fine. And if he has had it for a considerable amount of time, why hasn't he turned
Why
yet?
hasn't he turned yet? Right.
That's another very important thing too, is like does he have an immunity? Does that mean he's going to be a new form of an alpha we haven't seen yet, with increased ability and strength, but doesn't have that need? Is he like the Daywalker Blade?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, where are we going? But I don't know. I could go all day on these.
So I wanted to mention the cast here. It's a lot of people, but I felt like everyone should be mentioned because these are a lot of lesser known actors, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how we get their names out there, so they become better known actors. We have Dave Bautista, Scott Ward. Great. Well, we'll come back to this, but great performance. Ella Purnell as Kate Ward, his daughter. We have Amari Hardwick as Vanderhoe. Anna de la Reguera, excuse me, as Maria Cruz. We have Theo Rossi as Bert Cummings. Matthias Schwehofer, I believe, as Ludwig Dieter.
Love him.
We have Nora Arnezeter as Lily the Coyote. Hiroyuki Sanada as Bly Tanaka.
That
Tig
dude is
Notaro-
awesome, and I will
Yeah.
watch anything he's in.
Yeah, he's
I don't
great in
care.
every movie. We have Tig Notaro as Marianne Peters, and this is where we drop a little trivia here. Tig replaced somebody for
Yeah.
this role that we're not going to get into, but Zack made the decision to replace the person for the role, and Zack used CGI to place Tig Notaro into all these scenes. And I mean, you can sometimes tell it's a CGI scene, but not a bad job. I believe Zack used ADR when there were pronouns being used,
Mhm.
and such, because the original actor was a he, Tig is a she. So, but it worked, and Tig was absolutely hilarious. The lines for Peters was great.
I
So,
love Tig. Tig was
yeah,
great, and the funny thing is, I think because we knew that Tig was brought in later to shoot on green
right.
screen and whatnot, that it might have been easier for us to notice little subtle things. But I think that the people who didn't know had
Right.
no clue.
If you
Like,
didn't know, you wouldn't have known.
if you
No.
didn't know, you wouldn't know, because one thing that was really cool about this movie too is that Zack used a very specific lens. I could be wrong, but I think it's called the angel lens, and I apologize if I'm incorrect. But the lens plays a lot with blurred objects. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of times in scenes where things were purposely blurry while things in the forefront were not, or in reverse and whatnot. So it helped Tig blend in a lot better because things were blurry, and they were allowed to be blurry because that was an artistic choice made by Zack. So there were scenes where they did so well, even with eye contact, because Tig is not very tall. And you have Scott Ward Batista, who's tall, and they still found a way to line up the sight really well. Zack Snyder actually gave her like a gag gift. He gave her like a trophy for saying like best green screen actor there is.
It's great.
And it was really awesome because, again, she never interacted with the cast. She did the whole movie on green screen. And again, if you didn't know, you would not have been able to tell. Her delivery was great. She was fantastic. I loved her as an addition. Tig ruled.
Yeah, absolutely. We have Raul Castillo as Mikey Guzman, Huma Qureshi as Gita Ranjan, Garrett Dillahunt as Martin. We have Samantha Wynn as Chambers, and we have Richard Cetrone as Zeus.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Athena Parample as the Alpha Queen.
For those who don't know, Richard Cetrone did a lot of the Batman stunt scenes in Batman v
There we go.
Superman. That's our boy, man. That's our boy.
So I don't know if it was his best performance as of this release, but pretty good performance from Dave Bautista getting to be the
Yeah.
lead in
Yeah.
this movie. I think a lot of people will always, associate him with Drax from the
Mhm.
MCU. But as far as like a role where he gets to play somebody, and he's had plenty of roles, but this was like lead, the lead character.
Yeah, and he's been very interested in wanting to do lead roles, and again, as I mentioned, he wanted to do some serious acting, and when he was told about Army of the Dead, he has said in interviews that he initially declined because he didn't want to just be known as an action star. That's one thing I love about Dave Bautista is he said he's not trying to be like a mega blockbuster star. He's not trying to be an action star. He's not trying to put himself in a box. He just wants to be a really, really good actor. And I love that when he read the script, he saw that there was something to Scott Ward. And again, yeah, whether it's your favorite performance from him or not, it's all subjective. I think he has a
Right.
great performance in here. Blade Runner 2049 is still a standout for me when it comes for Dave Bautista. But he's got such great moments in here because Dave is such a big man. He is huge. And he has these scenes in this moment where you forget that because you're so in tune with his just emotions and what he's going through, his character is going through as a person and having really somber moments and touching and whatnot. And it's just like, I appreciate that in the middle of the zombie apocalypse movie, you have Dave Bautista acting his butt off in
Right.
some really emotional scenes.
So I already mentioned I like Samantha Wynn as Chambers.
Mhm.
Obviously, we both love Dieter. Dieter's just a scene stealer,
Dude.
and I'll be honest with you, this doesn't happen too often. But I got to give props to Athena
Mhm.
Paramble as the Alpha Queen because she did so much with a non-speaking role that it impressed me, and that's as far as that goes. Anybody else you wanted to give a shout out to before we move on, or did we pretty much hit
I
everybody?
I did like Ella as Kate Ward. I
Oh,
liked her.
okay,
I liked her a lot, especially again, it's mainly in the scenes where she's with her father, Scott. Those scenes they have together, they play off each other really well, and they had really good on-screen chemistry. So obviously, when she's doing action scenes or whatnot, it is what it is. But when she had scenes with Dave, I was in tune with them both,
right,
and I didn't feel like oh, like this one's clearly stealing the scene. They were acting off each other so well. So she had some moments with me that I really enjoyed.
good stuff. All right, so we're just gonna get to our standout lines here. We've been kind of tapping into our acting background to deliver,
Hmm.
these lines. We haven't really gotten into it um, too much, but we're gonna try to get into it more, just so you guys can, hear us read as far as that goes. I'm gonna handle this first part here. It's a funny sequence between Tanaka and Dieter and Peters. He gives them all the plan, and uh, Tanaka says, "Easy peasy, Japanesey," and everyone there's like an awkward pause, and Dieter says, "Sorry, sir, we're not allowed to say that anymore. It's lemon squeezy now." And Tanaka says, "Yeah, but and then Peters interrupts, "I think it's fine if he's Japanesey." And then Tanaka, "As you wish. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy." Very random.
It's so
I busted out laughing. As
it's
a
so
mixed Asian
funny.
man, that made me laugh.
It's funny because again, we're starting to learn a little bit more about Dieter, right?
Right,
Like he's kind of almost like I said, he's kind of like the little brother. They kind of make him little
right.
nerdy, little dorky, and whatnot. So the fact that like they're about to go kill zombies, and he's worried about like, hey, like you, that's kind of offensive. Don't say that. And I love that Tanaka's like, yeah, but like I can say that. And Tiggs even's like, yeah, I think he can say it. And he goes, all right, fine, easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right. It's such a
Yeah.
funny moment.
Um, when Scott and Cruz are trying to convince Peters to join in, 100% I'm in. Yeah. Cruz, you don't want to know the risks? Or Peters, why would I want to know the risks? Listen, I hate my life so deeply. If I had $2 million, my life would change drastically. just to kind of let us know about Peters a little bit. And it's a really cool plot line too, because they offer each member of the team a different amount of money, and they don't tell
Yes.
anybody that, you know.
Nope.
So, he saves a large chunk of the money to Peters because that's their
Yup.
vehicle person. That's the way they're going to get out.
Every single person that they meet in order, their pay goes down.
Down, yeah.
They're at the highest, and then as they go down the list, it gets less and less and less depending on how important they are to the mission. And obviously, with Peters is the pilot. You don't get out without the pilot, so they
Right.
offer $2 million.
Yep, absolutely. If you could do me a favor here, this is an interaction between Dieter, Scott, and Cruz. I'll play Scott and Cruz, and you can play Dieter.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Dieter, can it be opened and by me? I don't know. Honestly, I don't.
Okay.
Watch your fingers, Mr. Big Hand. But of the world's living locksmiths, do I represent your greatest chance of opening it? I can, with humility, say yes.
You're in?
It's a doorway to another realm, my friends, and Providence has brought you to me. Again, we get another thing here. It is a doorway to another realm.
Right.
And that is,
Right.
hey, I'm just saying, Vanderohe came out of there, and I was like,
Yeah, so a lot of foreshadowing with that line, and we'll come back to it in a second here. Dieter has another nice line later on when he actually gets in. I'm going to play Kate here. If you could do the Scott line, that'd be great.
Okay.
I don't effing get it. Why the F would she bring him?
Uneasy with the F-bombs, okay?
Are you kidding? We're about to march into a sea of dead people and commit grand larceny, but excuse me for swearing. So, and she actually curses there, folks, but
it's such a dad move. Such a dad move.
He's like,
all these
chill with the F-bombs, and she's an adult. She's grown, so.
Yeah. Chill with the F-bombs, okay? It's so funny.
Like, oh yeah, you guys could die, grand larceny, but no cursing. So, all right. I'm going to play Cruz, and if you could play Martin for this next section, I included it because you told me you really like this line, Ricardo.
Yes, it's a good line. Okay, so I'll start with Martin. What? What's everybody looking at me for?
It's a free country. People can look at whatever they want.
Actually, it's not a free country. We're not America anymore. Haven't you heard?
Scott, which technically makes it an even freer country, right?
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's a great line because again, it gets a little political, but I love that, he's like they're talking and it's like, oh, like it's a free country, and he's like, it's not a free country. We're not in America. And I love the Scott's like, well, then it's an even freer country, isn't it? Because is anything really free? Especially if you take into consideration what's happening in this movie. You have people that are directly next door to the outbreak of Vegas and they can't get out. It's like, even in America, nothing's free. And I love that aspect of him being like, well, if we're not in America, then it is free, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Right. There's one line that Martin says when he sees a zombie tiger. It's very brief, but it's kind of a line to kind of just, it's like a statement about the entire movie in itself, He says, it's a goddamn zombie tiger. That's crossing the line. And it's like after everything we've seen, this is the thing that's crossing the line now,
I remember it being in the trailer.
Yeah.
Like, that was such a trailer line. It was like at the very end of the trailer, you see a tiger and he goes, oh, that's crossing the line. Because it's so, like, you don't expect to see a tiger. You expect to see some people running around, but a tiger, and you're like, oh, we've got a tiger.
Right. So I thought that was funny. I had to include it. I'm not even going to ask for this next section here. I'm going to play Kate and you're going to play Scott because you're a dad. You're a dad and you love the scene. And I didn't want to just include one or two lines here. It's a really tender moment and probably Batista's best acting moment in the movie. So, so they're having an interaction here. They're trying to reconnect. They're estranged. He's thinking that she blames him for the mother's death, and she's like, no. And we're going to enter into the scene now. You did what you had to do. She was one of them. It's fine. Okay? Wait. You don't think that's why I haven't been talking to you all these years?
Well, I mean, it seemed like the logical assumption, yeah.
No. What you did and what happened to her, I never blamed you for that. Ever.
Well, I don't get it. If it wasn't what happened, what the hell was it?
It's not the it's not the fact that you killed my mother. It's that you never showed up after, okay? You you weren't there, Scott. You didn't call, you didn't visit, you didn't talk about it. You didn't comfort me.
Yeah, you're right. It's because every time I looked at you, I just saw her. And it hurt like hell. God, it hurt like hell. And then when I tried to come back around, you just seemed like you didn't want me there. So I assumed I should stay gone. Maybe there's a chance we could still,
Still what?
I don't know. Maybe you could look into college somewhere. We shouldn't need money. I could open a restaurant, new food truck, just have a life. I was thinking artisan grilled cheese sandwiches.
Artesian grilled cheese?
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a it's a nice idea, but I spent so long hating you that I can't just turn that off. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That came out meaner than I meant it to.
No, it's all right. I understand. Let's just get this done.
End scene.
That scene is so good because like
Yeah.
I remember watching and like he's pouring the gas and like there's very little body movement, but it's all about like what they're saying to one another. And it's really sad because like I don't want to say the word was naive, but he thought like, oh, like I killed her mother and she resents me for it. And it also shows you how absent he really was because he never
Right.
even conversed with her. He never talked to her about what happened. He just kind of shut off from everything because obviously he was going through something too, but that's his daughter and she needed him to be there to talk with her about it and he just never did. And I can't imagine, again, years have gone by and being like, you did what you had to do. I understand that, but you did something really traumatic. You took my mother away, your wife, and we never even talked. We never grieved. You never talked to me about it. So
Right.
like, and it's really sad because he's like, oh, and it's like he could have avoided this tension between them for so long. If he had just opened up and spoke to her, they wouldn't have this strained relationship. And it's sad. And because now he realizes, oh, it really is all on him.
Yeah. Real tender moment. Really enjoy this interaction. I had my issues with the Ella character a lot during this movie,
Mhm.
but the character kind of redeemed themselves 100% in this one moment because
Yeah.
it's a tough situation, and it's just like there's an old adage, it's just because you say you're sorry doesn't make everything okay. It doesn't make everything better, and it doesn't
Yeah.
undo everything, and I really enjoyed that aspect of this. She just puts it out there. I spent so long hating you. I don't know what else to do,
Yeah.
and now it's, you know,
Yeah, and I will be a defender here of her for a second because I know that like when the movie was over, I remember going on social media and everyone was saying, "Oh, it's all her fault. It's all her
right,
fault." And I was like, "Hold on, man. Martin was the one who killed the queen." I was like, that's what set everything off. You know what I mean? Because like the ranks wouldn't have been running crazy everywhere if the king
right,
didn't call for it. Once Martin killed the queen, all bets were off. Lily said it. She let out her scream that alerted everybody that something was wrong. Zeus heard it and was like, oh crap, they took out my baby mama. Unleash hell.
right,
And now everything is haywire. Like, I understood she went off on her own to go find her friend. Listen, if I'm missing and I got a friend like her coming to save me, I love her. I
right,
love her. She's coming. You know what I mean? So she's doing a noble thing. I understand it. Scott being a father, I understand why he chased after her too. That's his daughter. I would do the same. But she got a lot of heat online. I said, hold on. I don't think she's a perfect character in any sense of the word.
Right.
I said, but the main person to blame for Scott's death and everybody else is Martin, because
Martin.
had Martin never killed that queen, they still had safe passage. Now, obviously, if they came, face to face with the random zombies, the one that hibernate, the shamblers, they would have to defend themselves, but they were free from the alphas and they were free from Zeus. And Martin kind of screw it all up.
Right. If you could play Dieter for this next exchange, and I'll play Vanderohe.
All right. Let's pull this up. Okay, Dieter. Okay. Guys, I've done it. I've done it.
Wait, what? You did it? Like did it? Did it? He did it.
The only thing left now is to turn the wheel, as it is inevitable that we won. Mr. Vanderohe, would you do me the honor?
So, in the beginning, he has that line exchange where I don't know if I could do it, but I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just like, no, it was inevitable. So
Yep. It was, and again, there's words that they use that I'm just like, man, like it's like, I don't know. I just get into it.
yeah, the throwback to the line is, "It's a doorway to another realm, my friends, and Providence has
Mhm.
brought me to you." So, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and he used the word inevitable. He goes, "It was inevitable."
It was inevitable that we won.
That
So,
that word, he's like, "It was inevitable that we won," and it was just like, okay, and I was like, all right.
Peters had flown off, and they're thinking Peters isn't going to come back. And, Scott's like, "Oh, you came back." And, Peter says, I know. Somewhere between leaving your butt and saving my own, I developed a conscience. It's exhausting, you know?
Love Tig. I love Tig.
Yeah, it's great. And Mr. Ricardo, if you could close us out with a great quote that Vanderhoe says on the airplane as he's getting away and shipping his bubbly.
Oh yeah. To quote the great Joseph Campbell, he said, "It is by going down into the abyss where we recover the treasures of life. Where you stumble, there lies your treasure. To the ironic twists of the unknown. Bottoms up. Cheers."
Yeah.
My boy got bit. I'm sad. That's
It is sad. So we've gone through a few things as far as Army of the Dead is considered. We went through the plot, talked about our standout characters, talked about our standout lines and our theories and such. Any closing thoughts with Army of the Dead as we move forward here, Ricardo?
Again, I appreciated the fact that he offered more than a zombie movie. I love that he layered it with enough stuff for us to question, to talk about. We got aliens, we got zombies having babies, we got alphas, we got runners, we got hibernating zombies, we've got robots. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot. We've got time loops, we got great kills, great action sequences. It's a lot of what I like about Zack Snyder. And at the end of the day, it looked like a movie in which he had a lot of fun. And I was happy that this was the first movie that he made after everything that had happened with the Justice League situation and whatnot,
Right.
because this felt like he could just do what he wanted to do. And I think after such an exhausting experience of the film that happened prior with everything, for him to be able to just come in and Netflix say, hey, here's a bunch of money, do whatever you want. I think that it was very therapeutic for him. I
Right.
think it was awesome for fans to see Zack Snyder in control without anybody breathing down his neck, and just him enjoying himself, having a blast, a fun time. The movie's fun. You feel that energy throughout from beginning to end. And I really, 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 really love it. I love zombie movies. It's my favorite
Yes, you
genre when it
do.
comes to the horror. I love zombies. And again, I appreciate the fact that he said, hey, I could give you a generic zombie movie if you like, but I'm going to give you something a little bit deeper than that. Go online, go look at the message boards, chat with your friends, have a whole bunch of theories. I love hearing him talk about it. I think that's really cool. And again, I like how he takes villains like Zeus, our antagonist, and gives us a reason. I don't want to say to care, but to like really understand where they're coming from. To the
Right.
point where I'm like, we're kind of the bad guys in this movie. We came to his house, knocked on his door, killed his queen, his unborn child, and bad stuff happened. I don't know what to tell you. I appreciate it. You got 2 thumbs up for me.
Absolutely. I forgot to mention this. I don't believe you've seen Knock at the Cabin yet.
I
And
did.
oh, you did see it. Okay,
I
that's so let's
did.
put that out there then. This might have been Batista's best acting role until Knock at the Cabin came out.
Until Knock at the Cabin. Yup.
So, yeah, as of this recording, once again, it's early 2023, March 2023, and Knock at the Cabin was a recent release, and everyone was saying that that movie in particular was Batista's best acting performance. So we don't want to gloss over that fact. I enjoyed the fact that Zach got to do this, and he went back. As you know, I love original properties. He went and did an original property. Netflix is getting known to just let directors be creative and take the reins with their visions. So he spawned a new universe, and he's gearing up to spawn another one again with Rebel Moon, a Star Wars script that he turned into his own thing. Late 2023, that's supposed to come out December, and just happy for Zach and his journey. Just he did quite a few properties over the years, and now he's doing his thing again. And we are fans of the boss, Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
And if we weren't fans, we wouldn't have done his filmography. So thank you, folks, for tuning in and viewing, and thank you, folks, for listening. And as long as we keep this going, we're going to continue adding to it. So stay tuned for more filmographies, as far as more films from Zack Snyder and more filmographies from other directors. We've got quite a few to bring you.
Yeah.
Alrighty, folks. So that was our discussion on Army of the Dead, a Netflix property from the boss, Zack Snyder. So you've heard what we thought. We wanted to know what you thought. Please be sure to let us know your feelings on Army of the Dead in the comments below, and how you feel about this original property that Zack Snyder did, and perhaps where you see the universe going. If you could please give us a like, a share, and subscribe on YouTube, we would really appreciate it. I'm going to drive that point again as far as the subscriptions go. We appreciate those of you that are already subscribing, but those of you that are just clicking on them and viewing it, we appreciate your views and we appreciate your listens. Thank you so much for that. But our reach isn't going to expand unless you subscribe, because then when people go to search, it'll help us out. So thank you so much for that. For Ricardo Segura, this is Anderson Marchak saying thank you for coming to the panel.